Good afternoon everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Supercars of London YouTube channel, and well, today we have a huge video because this might be a world exclusive, having the two cars behind me together for the first time doing a back-to-back drive. A Lamborghini Aventador SV and a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Now obviously this car here is a roadster, but that does not distract us away from what we have in store today. I'm going to be driving that car first, and then I'm going to be doing my best to compare the differences of this. The brand new £335,000 Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. In this video, I want to categorize the drives between the two into three categories. Firstly, we're going to be talking about driving dynamics, how these cars make you feel behind the steering wheel. We're going to hit some B roads, and I'm going to get a feel for the SV and then the SVJ. Before coming back here to VVS, we're going to be talking about the visuals of the two cars. The Aventador SV most notably being a much cleaner design, but with the aerodynamical advantages on the SVJ, we can look a little bit deeper into the design of the SVJ before talking about the sound, because even though they run the same engines, there are very different tones coming out of the back of both of these cars. So we're going to have the opportunity of getting both of them on the road thanks to Lamborghini and VVS. And this is going to be one hell of a video. Right then, I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll make a great video. So we start with the Aventador SV Roadster. That has infinite visibility. So whilst this isn't a complete direct comparison coupe for coupe, still it's an SV, and seeing as I drove the Aventador SVJ all the way over here, I thought why not start with the earlier model. When the Aventador came out, it was revolutionary because it was really the first V12 Lamborghini to feature a lot of Audi on the car, and the SV was obviously the hardcore, the super veloce to the Aventador. What Lamborghini did to this car over the original was they shedded some weight, they added a little bit more power, they stiffened and sharpened everything up a little bit and put a wing on it. And I was amazed that with all of the aftermarket body kits that were coming out for the standard Aventador, that Lamborghini were able to bring out such a beautiful and clean looking design than the Aventador SV. But my first impressions of driving this are that the steering is incredibly heavy. The braking is a totally different pedal to that in the Aventador SVJ, and it feels a lot bigger. It is so fast, but when you're going through the corners, there isn't that same level of confidence as you have in some of the later Lamborghini models, the Performante, the Hurricane Evo, and now the Aventador SVJ. The steering is super heavy. You have to have two hands on the steering wheel at all times if you want to get around the bend, which I love, and that is what I love about my Murcielago, is that it is so old school. It feels as big as it is, maybe sometimes feels even bigger than it is, whereas I get the feeling when we jump in the Aventador SVJ, everything is going to shrink down a little bit with the help of that four-wheel steer. She sounds good. 50% through the drives and I can literally feel my arms burning. They have burnt some serious calories. manhandling that beast around some of the B roads. But let's have a look at some of the visuals. We all know the SV and we know the design incredibly well. It's got a new front bumper, it's got a new rear bumper. We've also got quite a flat spoiler, which obviously has something to do with the aero, because otherwise why would Lamborghini do it? This was also the launch of this alloy down here, but it is such a clean look, and you really don't realise just how timeless this design is until you put it next to the SVJ. Everything to do with this car is all about aero. So we have these nostrils here that some say are a little bit busy on the front. We've got these air curtains, air tunnels, air funnels. Everything on the front end of the SVJ is designed to filter air down the side, over the top and underneath the car. And the more I look at this car, I see where you are spending your £335,000, because you move down the side, and if you compare the size of the air vent down here to that of the Aventador SV, this is like double the size of it, and it's just accentuated, it's more muscular, it's more aggressive. And we move round to the rear of the car, we've got this engine bay, which is hands down probably the best designed engine bay I think I've ever seen. SVJ owners will probably say that they hate how fiddly all of this stuff is to take it off. You don't have the option of just lifting it up. This whole piece comes off. And this wing, again, is designed aerodynamically. And the rear diffuser, exhaust system, everything to do with the developments and enhancements of the SVJ are done so that Allah can work in tune with the rest of the car and make this the fastest thing around the Nürburgring. Immediately jumping back into the Aventador SVJ, you really get a sense of just how more usable and manageable this car is, even though it's exactly the same size. The steering is so much lighter, which I really didn't pick up on jumping into the SVJ for my first drive. But now, having been out in the SV and got into the SVJ, this really is a much more relaxing experience, even in sport mode. The suspension is stiff, and this is a very stiff ride, but it's so much more easy to maneuver, and that comes down to the four-wheel steer that was introduced into the Aventador S and made that much more manageable to drive through most of the roads that we have here in the UK. And the Aventador SVJ being the hardcore latest and greatest from the Aventador, with the four-wheel steering working with ALA 2.0, that you can see everything right up here on the virtual display. It is a seriously impressive package. You still have a crazy amount of power. But the experience in a V12 Lambo is so much more that a 20 brake horsepower increase isn't going to be felt, because this is such a visceral experience that at 7,000, 8,000, 8,500 RPM right up until the red line, there is so much going on for the driver and the passenger that you will never notice the increase in brake horsepower. It just isn't there. And so the statistics on paper of this car, yes, they are slightly improved, but it comes down to the technology that Lamborghini have really introduced into the SVJ that makes it a much better and more engaging driving experience. The engagement really hasn't come out of the car. You sometimes see new cars with lighter, more electronic steering, technology that makes the car more easy to drive, but in this, it hasn't affected the engagement whatsoever. In fact, it's made it that much more focused and better that driving it on a B road here or taking it on track, you are going to massively see the improvements that Lamborghini have implemented into the Aventador. This is the best ever Lamborghini V12. One of the main characteristics of any Lamborghini V12 is the sound. So we really need to talk about SV versus SVJ sound, because there is a huge tonal difference, and it's probably as big as a jump from the Pizzarini V12 that we have in the Murcielago that was discontinued after the SV. When Lamborghini introduced the brand new 6.5 litre V12 to the Aventador, I was a little bit underwhelmed in the way that it was such a mechanical sound, whilst it still screamed. And don't get me wrong, an Aventador with an aftermarket exhaust system is one of the greatest sounds ever, as it just drones through the centre of London. It didn't quite have the crisp and raw Formula One nature that was found in the Pizzarini. With the SVJ, the tone difference comes from the exhaust system, because it's pretty hard to not notice that it is a central exit exhaust system on the Aventador SVJ, very similar to the Huracan Performante, and there is a much bigger reason behind it rather than just a design feature. It's to improve the aerodynamics of the rear diffuser on both the Performante and the Aventador SVJ. If you think about the Aventador SV, the exhausts flop out of the centre of the rear diffuser, not really maximising the aero efficiency of the underside of the car as it sweeps up. Whereas on the SVJ, Lamborghini have been able to maximise 100% of that mass by putting the exhausts at a central exit exhaust point. But what that means is the length of pipe from the engine to the exit is much shorter on the SVJ, so Lamborghini haven't really been able to manipulate the tone in the same screamy way as you get in the SV. Which some people might like. I personally think the SV sounds better, even though you've got some real whip craps in the SVJ. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about the sound, I just think the SV sounds better, but proving once again that Lamborghini are really focusing on building a driver-focused performance car, maximising aero and choosing that as a priority over the passion and the sound from the Lamborghini V12. So the SVJ has got shorter pipes, meaning that there is a weight saving. And also with the central exit, it allows Lamborghini to utilise the complete rear diffuser as an aerodynamic masterpiece. Meaning that whilst the SVJ is a much more focused and direct track car, it lacks a little bit of that Lamborghini flair. Just a little bit. Very, 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 very small bit. Like that much. So, quite possibly one of the best filming days I've had in a long time, being able to test the SVJ and compare it to the SV. It was just a question that I wanted answered. I wanted to know just how different the two cars are, and honestly, it's night and day. And whilst it's a shame that the majority of the SVJs won't be experienced to its maximum potential on the track, it's something that needs to be experienced. So I urge every owner to please put it on a track or give it to someone and jump in the passenger seat so that you can experience what the SVJ is capable of doing, because it has come on leaps and bounds from the SV, and I am amazed that I'm actually being able to navigate this car through very tight, twisty roads with one hand on the steering wheel. If you remember my first drive collection in the Lamborghini Murcielago, slightly different story around here. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you as always for tuning in, supporting and watching, and let me know what car you would have, SV or SVJ. I think it's going to be quite 50-50. Some will say the SV looks better. I think it looks cleaner, but I appreciate the design on the SVJ and what it achieves actually sat behind the steering wheel. So thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon. Take care guys, goodbye.